I've been watching your content for a while now, and as a guy who's played D&D for a year and a half, I have a surprising amount of horror stories, so I may as well send you in one now. I was 16 at the time, a new player, and I had a certain attachment to character designs as an artist. I was chosen at random to be added to a D&D campaign that was debatably homebrew as a combination of like 4 or 5 books. God! This is what decision paralysis does to a mofo. Turned them into the mad scientists of the DM world. Despite that, I was pretty excited to make my first character. Well, I was not able to. The DM at the time of conception appreciated my artwork and decided to make my characters, well, everything. Besides his looks, I was playing a near DMPC because I couldn't write his background, his personality, or even his name. This was disappointing, but I never mentioned that. I have issues without mentioning issues I have with people in general, and definitely not with the DM we had. The campaign was not great. Well, story-wise, it wasn't terrible. I was being told all these things about my character that I had no idea about before, culminating to this weird thing where I was made to be the villain of the campaign and possessed by a demon who was apparently my ancestors. Alright, got my new character journal all ready to go. I'm really excited to... Oh, yeah, you won't be needing that garbage. I made you a brand new character. Okay, what's the character like? Oh, well, you know, they're your typical hero, left their home in search of adventure. Alright, that's kind of interesting. Oh, and also their mother and father are siblings. Oh, and also they hallucinated their entire life. So, okay, stop. Are you just making this up as you go along? It's like you're pulling random plot twists out of Riverdale. Like, is there any actual plan for this character? What? Well, I mean, the end game is that you are the big bad evil guy of the campaign. What? I mean, yeah, you're part of the bad race, so that means we all have to kill you. Just how it works. Guys, I mean, come on, I'm not the bad guy. I mean, look, like, how harmless could I... Oh, God. He's got a weapon! Put your hands down, gun! He's got a weapon! The DM was a some races are just evil kind of guy, and I was basically the target for that. I stopped playing because of school. The campaign played until the end, and I would know because it was played right outside my room, because the DM was my stepfather. Now I'm in a campaign where I can actually make my character. Hooray for that. You know, one of the biggest allures of D&D is being able to make your own character. So when you completely take that away, a lot of people lose the allure, especially if you're not really a dungeon master worth playing with. Love your videos. I want to share my own horror story with a crappy DM with a serious case of an inflated ego and a knack for making problematic characters as a player. So, just to get our cast out of the way, me, she, they, I'm the writer playing a Furbolg monk, Chris, he, him, originally the DM and the problem player, new to D&D, jumped straight into DMing, which by the way, totally okay, and immediately became way too full of himself and convinced of his abilities. Wow, he really be like me for real. Josh, he, him, the party's warlock. Dylan, non-binary, they, them, the bar of the party, eventually became our DM, awesome player, awesome DM. Tony, he, him, our rogue, host of the original campaign until he moved away right before our last campaign ended. Okay, now that's over with. This happened back in 2021. I had moved back to my home state after leaving for a work opportunity. I wanted to get into D&D again since I'd played 3.5 when I was in high school, and I had played a few 5th edition one-shots in the past. I found my local D&D Facebook group and spotted Chris's looking for player post in that group. I shot him a message, and after a short interview over chat, he invited me over to come play with him. Chris told me he had been playing D&D for a while, and that he had lots of experience both as a DM and as a player. From what he explained, I came to the conclusion he had been playing 5th edition for a few years, and had DM'd multiple campaigns previously.
Sometimes foreshadowing it.
The first 3 sessions went as expected, although having played with Chris for 3 sessions, I found out Chris was not as experienced as he'd let on. He'd only been playing D&D for a few months before he decided to run his own campaign. Months, years, it's the same thing, right? This would not have been a problem if he hadn't been so smug about how amazing of a DM he was. His inflated ego was honestly the worst part. I can deal with DMs who are not fully versed in all the rules as written, but at least have some damn humility. Session 4, we had an unexpected player character death by a misplaced fireball from Josh's Warlock, which killed Dylan's character. This bothered the hell out of our DM, Chris, for some reason. But for the rest of us, it was exciting. It was dramatic. We were all jumping out of our seats, shouting no as Dylan's character was freaking vaporized. Fireball! By about session 5, Chris said he was not having fun with the campaign we'd all agreed upon, and he said he wanted to make some small changes to our table, as well as to the overall vibe of the campaign. Honestly, we were pretty receptive to suggestions on how to change the campaign up a bit to make it fun for everyone, and we expected a couple of rules changes that would basically just add a little bit of flavor. Well, it was more than just small changes, and his demeanor also shifted with these new, grittier rules. You know what time it is. It's time for Patch Notes! Here's the list of changes Chris made. No longer did he want to host the semi-serious, semi-funny campaign that we all wanted. He wanted grit. He wanted realism. He wanted something that fit more with GURPS World War II. If you don't know, it's a World War II themed realistic war TTRPG. The DM will secretly roll player character death saves. Not even that player will know the results until they've succeeded or failed to avoid dying. Dashing 2 turns in a row will result in a level of exhaustion. Apparently we can't run for more than 12 seconds. Oh my god! They have a cave troll! We must flee! Damn, this fight's already lost then. We have to go! Let's go!
12 seconds later.
Brother. Dude, what are you? You must flee. I can go no further. Take your weapons and leave me behind. I will hold off as many as I can. You've been running for 12 seconds. How are you already tired? There is no time to argue. This is not like a heroic sacrifice, no time to argue kind of thing. Like, seriously, you're saying you're gonna stay behind and, like, fight these goblins or whatever? If you can't run for 12 seconds, then you would be completely useless in that fight. Like, how are you even an adventurer, man? Dang it. You're probably right. I can do better. I will run for 6 more seconds. Players have 2 minutes to take their action. If they fail to do so, their turn will be stopped, and they will automatically take the dodge action. This turned into him interrupting people's turns by saying, "Too long, you dodge." Bardic and DM inspiration must be declared before rolling. You must gain consent from other player characters if they will be affected by a spell you cast in combat. A direct response to, you know. Players will get 1 warning for metagaming, and after the second time, they will get disadvantage on their next roll. Players get 1 minute to strategize the top of combat initiative, starting in the second round, which I'd argue is the direct opposite of the metagaming rule. Oh, and the worst thing of all, the rule that basically ruined all spellcasting classes, players get 1 hit die per hour during a short rest. Abilities that recharge during a short rest will take a hit die to recharge. A long rest takes 24 hours minimum now. A long rest following 60 miles of travel will take 1 10-day, which I'm assuming is 10 days. Right? Chris told us he wanted to take inspiration from famous DMs who have been very successful in making entertaining games, then proceed to change his name in the group chat to Supreme Overlord. Right, man. Okay.
Who disrupts my coronation?
Coronation?
Dungeon Master.
This is bad comedy.
We all responded to the new table rules with what I can describe as a deflated... oh... Chris reiterated that he wanted to be like the famous DMs he watched and that he thought it would be more fun. The conversation devolved into a bit of an argument, with Chris getting defensive and refusing to budge. I sent Chris a message in chat about how I felt like he hadn't discussed with anyone how big these changes he was making were. So I said, "Hey Chris, I just want to let you know that I totally understand where you're coming from, wanting to test our rules that other DMs have used at their tables. But these rules seem like a lot of big changes, and they don't seem to line up with what we have enjoyed and discussed since session 0. We're just a bunch of friends playing D&D. I think you're already a great DM, and I enjoy playing with you. I just don't see the need to fix something that isn't broken. Personally, I don't want to play with famous DMs. I want to play with my friend. Chris. Hey OP, which rule specifically? Honestly, it's mostly the rest rule. It kind of breaks warlocks and makes other short rest dependent classes, like, they're nerfed a lot. And I can see what you were saying about secret death saves creating a sense of urgency in players, but I don't really think that's necessary. Remember when Dylan's bard died? I literally jumped out of my seat and shouted, "Oh my god, no!" It was already one of the most exciting sessions we've done so far. Dylan didn't make a save though, they died outright. Well, I know, when my player character was down and I had to make death saves, everyone was reacting a lot to my rolls. We were biting our nails, waiting for the dice to stop rolling. I'd say we felt a sense of urgency. Chris gave a lot of non-answer answers to every suggestion we made, but eventually changed the rules up a little bit, but still had the custom rest rule, which was still pretty broken, the inspiration rule, and the DM death saves rule that none of us liked. Those were all still there. Eventually, Chris mentioned that he still wasn't having fun DMing, and now neither were we. His new rules and the way the whole thing went down left a bad taste in our mouths. None of us had been interested in the gritty campaign, and we tried to compromise with Chris on the subject matter of the campaign objective to be gritty while leaving the original table rules mostly the same as we'd initially agreed. But he wasn't interested in compromising in a way that made it fun for everyone. Josh and I spoke to Chris about it, and we eventually convinced him to take a step back from DMing if he just wasn't having fun. Dylan became our new DM and ran their own homebrew campaign in the setting they'd been writing for over 9 years. Chris's first ever character was an old, crazy cat lady elf druid who also hated non-elves. Like, racist levels of hating non-elves and making comments to the tune of filthy blank and their kind, blah 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 blah. Wow. What a likable character, man. This character proved to be understandably disliked by every other player character. He then changed his character to a djinn in a bottle. A genie was the unearthed arcana at the time. This character ended up being chaotic stupid and a racist character of a Romani person, constantly derailed the campaign searching for quote-unquote trinkets. Chris got his character killed after doing some chaotic crap in the Underdark version of the Vatican, causing an explosion and killing the Underdark version of the Pope. He ended up leaving the group due to scheduling conflicts. Chris expected us to be able to play every week, but the rest of us couldn't be available every single Friday night, week after week. We were adults with full-time careers, and some of us had kids as well. Say it with me, I run gritty campaigns. So I get the appeal of wanting to run a harder game. However, there are plenty of ways to do it with the official base D&D rules. And on top of that, if you want to run a different game, just run a different game. 24-hour long rests are a thing in MCDM's Draw Steel, a game I really like, but those would probably not work the best in Dungeons & Dragons. Dungeons & Dragons is built around the rules that were written. On top of that, even if these rules are tried and tested by other people, that doesn't mean they'll work in your group. The amount of players at your table, their playstyles, their class combinations, those things change how the rules are going to affect them. And that's why it's important for you to really analyze how it affects your table. And if they're not having fun, then that means those rules need to change. And that's what Chris is missing out on. Honestly, I'm kind of curious who these famous DMs are, because, like, I've watched a good amount of D&D actual play. No one's coming to mind. Characters. Me, playing a Dragonborn Ranger. The DM, Problem Player 1, Warlock. Problem Player 2, a Bard. I can't remember what class exactly, but that's what we'll call him. So this happened in 2021, so yeah, fairly recent. I was a 7th grader at the time, but was invited to a high school campaign, which... Having just moved to my new school, I took it immediately, hoping to make some new friends before going into high school. For some context, the campaign I was joining was an interplanar sandbox campaign in 5th edition with some minor homebrew. Me being introduced in the middle lasts like 15 players rotating in and out because there was only one campaign in the entire club for some reason. I'll tell you the reason. It's because people avoid being a dungeon master like the plague. So my introduction to the campaign was quite rocky. The other players were exploring a cave system of some sort, being lured into a shack by the 2 problem players, and being sent into another dimension, I think for Warlock's demonic patron. Warlock was chaotic evil, and I guess the next part kind of supports this. So I am introduced, seeing this happen, having stealthed around the other players beforehand. I go in to attack the murder hobo, throwing some sand I grab before entering. I am immediately nuked by the warlock and dropped into his portal. On the other side, we meet the warlock's patron, some sort of worm monster thing. We were never really told what it was. We, as a group, are presented to the Murder Hobo's patron before immediately getting mind controlled by the patron, and now we are forced to follow the Murder Hobo's orders, while still retaining some level of control. I immediately was put off. More so, I just kind of trusted the DM to help us out so we could have control back. So, yeah, just weird place for an intro, you know, not having almost any power to roleplay for the introduction. We just kind of were spat back out of the portal to continue adventuring. It's like Will in Baldur's Gate 3. Guy gets kidnapped, brainwormed at an alien spaceship, and immediately just gets back to business, no hesitation. I love Will. After this, we actually have a couple more fun sections before realizing that this mind control crap is going to be a constant. I had some fun role-playing burning down doors, but still just not really knowing what to do. I don't have control of my character. I'm constantly trying to escape, but being put down every time by the mind control. So I kind of tap out being half present, which is why I feel like I'm a problem player, most likely hurting the DM's feelings, but it could also partially be that my character has no connection to any previous section of the campaign, and so learning about how the rest of the group wanted to do One Piece with a horse friend kind of... I'm sorry, what the hell did I just read? Also, I have no idea why DM thought it would be a good idea to put a mostly good party under the control of chaotic evil / neutral characters. And it's what's made me think that they're trying to control character alignment at some level, which could be good, unless the truest point is for the group to be forced together at some level. Also, I now have a party of chaotic, neutral, evil characters, but I feel like I need to straight man them at some point, so how should I do it? Should I just change my alignment to lawful neutral or something else, like a chaotic neutral character who is a bit of a straight man in other ways? Am I the a-hole at some level? I just want to ask just in case. Man, 7th grade writing is crazy. But anyway, yeah, drum roll please. Not the a-hole! Oh my god, this is bad. Like, even from child D&D levels, this is really, really bad. Having a chaotic evil character control the party might seem like a good idea in like a kid's head, but it's not fun for like anyone else at the table. And I know what you're thinking. Oh my god, Crispy, it's a children's D&D game. What do you expect? But just because it's kids that are playing does not mean the kids get a free pass to be dicks to each other. Also, I find the whole focus on alignment to be really interesting because that is something I have noticed. I feel that young players do really gravitate toward alignment as a rule, which, you know, it's a choice. I don't think it's a great one, and it certainly isn't an excuse for this game being so bad. Look, I'm sorry. I think you should leave. Or better yet, see if you can start your own group, because if there's 15 people coming in and out of this club, I'm sure you can find the room to get a group of your own. So, my horror story started real early in my TTRPG career. I was sick of random online campaigns falling apart, so I decided to join a Westmarch server. I found this one through the official D&D Discord server, the state-endorsed D&D Discord server. I didn't even know what Westmarches was back then. I didn't know what a Tupper box was or anything like that. So with this server, before you gain access to anything, you have to take a quiz, which is fair. Weed out the red flags early, you know? But when I saw the rulebook of the server, I was overwhelmed and left. It was something like a 20-page Google Doc. But then the owner of the server personally DM'd me asking why I left. I wasn't super weirded out by this or anything. I've existed on Discord long enough to be used to this kind of thing. Let's call this guy Brian. He convinced me to go back, and I agreed to take the quiz. He helped me make a character and everything, because I was really new at the time and didn't know any better. The way he talked and texted was firing some neurons in my brain, though. He used a lot of like heart and ooh-woo adjacent emotes. I dismissed it for the time being because whatever, different people text differently, who cares? I mean, that's how all my friends talk to me and I don't see a problem with it. They all call me Pookie. I don't actually know what that means. What exactly are they calling me? But this information will be relevant later. It was all fine and good for like 6 months. I'm not sure the timeline here, but let's go with that. I made some really good friends on the server. I kind of started to form a little group of close friends that we're really comfortable around. So we know Brian, the owner of the server. Let me introduce you to Tristan and Velvet, the most toxic married couple on the planet. Tristan and Velvet, I don't know, I just googled the most annoying female and male. Tristan and Velvet are not bad. Is that seriously what comes up? Well, according to this really sus-looking 7 News website, the most hated name is Heaven spelled backwards, which I understand. Oh, and Madison, apparently. Sorry to all the Madisons out there. Anyway, yeah, Tristan and Velvet, they were abusing my 2 other friends for a while now, using their characters to, like, torment them. They were literally using in-game drama to get back at each other in real life. Like, how is this marriage still going? I don't know, but I digress. That's not my story to tell, so I'm not even gonna get into there. This is when the crap started to go down. It started with the staff of the server, who was Brian, Tristan, and Velvet at the time. I know, just like incredible team. Pulling 3 of my friends and I into a private thread, reprimanding us for being a clique, even though we've just grown close as friends, like I've said before.
Hey, stop right there, criminal scum! Whoa, what's going on? You have been accused of a heinous crime. Oh God, the crime of having friends!
That seems kind of depressing. Like is having friends like suddenly something that you're no longer allowed to
Huh? Your head shall be severed, scum. Do you have any final words?
Oh, well, if this is the amount of trouble I get in for having friends, imagine what will happen if I tell them I have bitches. We had discussion, but it doesn't seem like the staff heard any of our points. One of us were removed as a head DM, a staff adjacent role, with no prior warning with this, by the way, but she eventually did get the role back. In our opinion, they didn't like that she's up there because she is vocal when people are wronged. She's difficult to manipulate, and they did not like that. Then, one day, after a very funny and goofy session of what was essentially Among Us, just do the sound. Yeah, anyway, after the public chat Among Us game, Tristan complained about how he's sick of characters having... What were you doing in Among Us? Oh my god! This was apparently causing new members to leave. For context, we had that Among Us session the night before. People did bone in closets just to be funny, and people wrote reports about that afterwards. There was one person left before the session even happened. Tristan and Velvet basically went on a rant and called us in the session out publicly. One of us tried to de-escalate in a mature and professional manner. He's the best at the job out of all of us, and Tristan said, quoting from him, "Here's a statement, I quit." And both of them left the staff and the server. Brian begged them to come back, and they rejoined a few hours later, but that left a really bad taste in just everyone's mouths. I wasn't even awake for that, but I just saw the screenshots of the chat afterwards, and I guess that's that, right? But no, out of pettiness, Tristan and Velvet started to file complaints about 2 of my friends' characters who were engaged in character. Apparently, they were having too much PDA. They were just holding hands in public and talking about their upcoming wedding. How scandalous. Being 100% serious about this, this is what they were complaining about. We have the screenshots. A little context for you, Tristan and Velvet were notorious themselves for having inherently intimate characters. Tristan's character is known for owning a... What is... I'm not gonna look that up. And Velvet's character is a god of a cult based in intimacy. And both of their characters have just boned in the middle of a bar before. Just like right there for everyone to see. They all, including Brian, have done stuff like this. But now all of them have problems with PDA. You know, people in the comments always talk about how I hate sex. You know what? They're right. I agree with the people of this story, alright? Weddings, absolutely disgusting, alright? That is absolute degenerate behavior. It's really making my BDSM sex dungeon a lot less wholesome. From what I heard from older members of the server, Brian had been going on a power trip before I even joined, so that behavior obviously continued. I was part of the staff for a while, not a powerful moderator or anything, but when this stuff was going down, Brian and his weak little ego needed more support, so he recruited his best friend. Let's call him Copium. Copium joined the staff team. Copium was basically there to say yes to whatever Brian decided to power trip on that day. I was very professional when I was addressing the issues and all the biases going around. Brian was throwing a tantrum, childishly name-calling and everything. When I said I wanted to leave the staff because I didn't support this kind of behavior, Brian pulled out the ukulele. I'm assuming you mean figuratively? But these days, I never know. He was sending me paragraphs in my DMs. He attempted to make an apology. It wasn't a very good one, but I just stood my ground on this one. Later, I look back in retrospect. He was trying to make me his, Discord kitten from the beginning. What is... Ew! Ew! I wasn't his first or last victim, unfortunately. Fortunately, though, I kept him at arm's length from the beginning, so in the end, it wasn't that bad. I could tell sometimes when he was being disingenuous, so it wasn't that gross in the end for me. Oh, did I forget to tell you that he has a girlfriend in real life, and they would sometimes interact in voice chats, and he wouldn't mute his mic? That wasn't traumatizing in the frickin' slightest. A week or so later, out of the blue, they banned those 3 friends I mentioned earlier. Now I've been gathering some evidence on Brian's gross behavior for a while, so I decided to drop on the server because my friends aren't there anymore. So what's the point? Let's expose the dude. I got banned 5 minutes later. Some other friends of ours weren't really in the know, DM'd me about what happened, and they promptly left as well. We're all playing in a new server now. It's a much healthier environment. This place even discourages power gaming. Well, a breath of fresh air. Last I heard, we did so much damage to that hellhole, they've been going through rebrands after rebrands. People are getting upset at that and then leaving. I mean, the fact that the owner is a straight up creep probably doesn't help. Anyway, yeah, so there's a fun little double whammy. A TTRPG story and a classic Discord mod moment. I'm so sorry for the amount of profanity in this. I recently had my own Discord mod moment, which unfortunately has just driven me further into not wanting to really start a Discord server for this channel, but we'll see how that goes. Anyway, yeah, people like this absolutely exist. People power trip in Dungeon Master roles, and they power trip in Discord mod roles all the frickin' time. I'd argue that there are more Discord horror stories than there are D&D horror stories. I'm gonna be honest, I don't really know what happened in that Among Us game, but I do understand someone being annoyed if there was too much intimacy in the public chat. You did say so yourself, it was in the public chat. So if you were being obnoxious there, I'd understand being annoyed. But it seems like that kind of content is a regular part of the server anyway, which brings in the problem. Hypocrisy. If that kind of content is normalized in the server, you can't just suddenly say, oh, well, it's not okay if you do it. If there is a problem, you need to clarify that. Throwing a tantrum over it ain't gonna help anybody, and that's exactly what Brian and his little sycophants did. Look, this is why I play with friends, man. I don't know if some of this stuff is worth it. Hey, you know what this is? It's a wrap. If you guys enjoyed, then you might enjoy this horror story where a guy talked about sushi being too Asian for D&D, which, yeah, great. Racism. It's linked in the cards. But before you go, please do leave a like on this one and subscribe to Crispy's Tavern so you don't miss any of our content as it comes out. And finally, if you want to leave your own stories or thoughts, you can go down in the comments down below. If you can't think of a comment, leave the comment realism to let me know you made it to the end of the video. Hey, by the way, if you have your own horror stories, you can send them directly to us. There's an email down in the description down below. Send your stories our way for a chance to be featured in one of these videos. But hey, even if you don't have any stories, in essence, like, comment, subscribe. I'll see you all next time. Farewell.